Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Welcome to the big news. The topic for today's discussion, UN Office on Drugs and Crime. Let us try and understand what is this topic all about. First up, let's look into the context. The International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, which is also called as the World Drug Day, is marked on 26 June every year to strengthen action and cooperation in achieving the goal of a world free of drug abuse. So this day is celebrated to create awareness about the negative consequences of drug abuse and the consequences of drug on the society. So the United Nations established 26th of June every year as what is called as the World Drug Day or the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Trafficking. On this day, there are a number of people, individuals, towns, numerous organizations, civil society all around the world strive to bring awareness about this huge problem of illicit drugs posed to the society. So this is the day that is created, observed so that the drug abuse by the individuals can be reduced over a period of time. What is the theme for the year 2022? The theme for the year 2022 is addressing drug challenges in health and humanitarian crisis. What do we understand by this theme? We have the humanitarian crisis. This can be people who are infected by the pandemic. There can be people who are present in the war zones. There are people who are in the refugee camps. There might be people who might be having food crisis as well, and there are people who might be suffering because of the vagaries of the political instability. All this have impacted people. This might lead to unemployment crisis. This might lead to people not having food to eat as well. As a result, they may get addicted to the drug abuse. In order to cater to all these individuals who have been suffering because of the humanitarian crisis, what the theme concentrates is asking the government, international organizations, civil society and all stakeholders to take urgent action to protect these kind of people by strengthening the national laws and preventing the abuse of drugs in that particular area. So basically, this is a theme in tackling illicit drug supply during the humanitarian crisis. When we speak about controlling the menace of drug abuse, what we require is one of the institutions at the global level to manage and coordinate. That organization is what is called as the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. This happens to be a global leader in the fight against illicit drugs and international crime. So basically, it operates in all regions of the world. It has an extensive network of people as well. It also has field agents as well. It cooperates and coordinates with all these field agents who are present in different countries, and ultimately you also have governments. These governments coordinate with this United Nations organization. These governments make the contribution to this organization, and all the organizations come together and they ensure that the illicit drug trafficking or what is called as narco terrorism is also brought to an end. When was this formed? This was formed in 1997 as the Office for Drug Control and Crime Prevention. It was renamed to its current name in 2002. It was established chiefly to aid the United Nations in addressing the issues of illicit drug trafficking, drug abuse, prevention of crime and criminal justice, political corruption, international terrorism in a coordinated and a comprehensive manner. It is also the chief UN body for delivering legal and technical assistance to prevent terrorism, and this works in disseminating information about the dangers of drug abuse. So this organization also releases one of the reports called as the World Drug Report annually. This can be very important from the preliminary examination point of view. So remember, the World Drug Report is released by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. The report gives valuable information relating to drug abuse worldwide, the trends in the production and use of illicit drugs of various types. If we look into this particular report from the year 2021, it has given us certain statistics. What are these statistics? Around 275 million people used drugs worldwide in 2020, while over 36 million people suffered from drug use disorders. In the last 24 years, cannabis potency had increased as much as 4 times in parts of the world, even as the percentage of adolescents who perceived the drug as the harmful fell by as much as 40%. Despite evidence that cannabis use is associated with variety of health and other harms, especially among regular long-term users. Between 2010 and 2019, the number of people using drugs increased by about 22%, owing in part to the global population growth. Based on demographic changes, current projections suggest that 11% rise in the number of people who use drugs globally by the year 2030 and a marked increase of about 40% in Africa alone due to its rapidly growing and young population. According to the latest global estimates, about 5.5% of the population aged between 15 and 64 years have used drugs at least once in the past year, while 36.3 million people, or 13% of the total number of persons who use drug, suffer from drug use disorders as well. How has this institution helped India? We have the UNODC, which has presence in India, and we have the Ministry of Finance, Home, Health and Family Welfare, Social Justice and Empowerment, Women and Child Development, Overseas India Affairs. All these ministries and departments help in bringing down the drug abuse in India. Geographically, India is very close to Golden Crescent as well as the Golden Triangle. What is this Golden Crescent? This overlaps between the mountain ranges of Iran, Afghanistan and Pakistan. If you have to look into the image, this is what the Golden Crescent is. You have three countries, Iran, Afghanistan and Pakistan, which are part of the Golden Crescent. Then we also have Golden Triangle as well, where you have Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar as well as Thailand. They all are the opium producing countries, and this is where large scale drugs are supplied to the entire world. And we have India, which is between these two drug producing states. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime report said that India is one of the major hubs of trade for illicit drugs. The report also mentioned the global trend of purchasing drugs over the internet with the help of platforms available on the dark web. Now the question is, what are the factors that are responsible for the menace of drug trafficking in India? When it comes to India, we have large number of people who may be unemployed, and you might also have people suffering in the poverty as well. Because they are poor, because they do not have the employment opportunities, they want to get away from this issue. So what do? They have a lot of unproductive time, and as a result they indulge themselves in all these antisocial activities like consuming of drugs. And at the same time, as we initially discussed, we have the proximity to the largest producer, one in the form of Golden Crescent, the other in the form of Golden Triangle as well. And at the same time, we also know for the fact that Pakistan in the past has said that it wants to make India bleed through thousand cuts, and one of the actions that it has taken is to fuel drug in the areas of Punjab, so on and so forth. So because of the closer proximity to the largest producers, and because we have countries like Pakistan who is the next door neighbor, they have been fueling this crisis across the border areas. Then there are many families as well. Then you also have people who are engaged in this business as well, and because their life and family business is completely into drug trafficking, we have increased cases of drug issues in India. In order to overcome this issue, what we require is a law, what we require is an institution. So the government of India has come up with the NDPS Act, and we also have the Narcotics Control Bureau to make sure that this menace of illicit drug trafficking is prevented. The NDPS Act prohibits a person from production, manufacturing, cultivation, possession, sale, purchasing, transport, storage or consumption of any narcotic drug or the psychotropic substance. It was enacted in 1985, amended three times in 1998, 2001 and 2014. The penalties under this act are severe considering the consequences of drug abuse and trafficking, and the offences under the act attract jail terms ranging from 1 year to 20 years and fine depending on the crime as well. Under the act, abatement, criminal conspiracy and even attempts to commit an offence attract the same punishment as the offence itself, and preparation to commit an offence attracts half the penalty. Under the act, property acquired by a person from drug related offence who have been convicted under the act can be seized, frozen, and forfeited by the government. This is one of the important acts, and we also have the Narcotics Control Bureau, which is constituted under the provisions of NDPS Act, and this happens to be a nodal agency responsible for coordination with various ministries, central government agencies with regard to drug law enforcement and with respect to the drug abuse. And from the preliminary examination point of view, you have one index and you also have a declaration which can be very important from the preliminary examination point of view. We have the Global Drug Policy Index. This is released by the Harm Reduction Consortium. This happens to be a consortium of networks aiming to challenge the global war on drugs, scale up access to harm reduction services, and advocate for increased resources for harm reduction. This happens to be a data-driven global analysis of drug policies and their implementation. It is composed of 75 indicators running across 5 broad dimensions, which include criminal justice, extreme responses, health and harm reduction, access to internationally controlled medicines, as well as development. According to this ranking, the top 5 countries which are able to bring a control on the drug menace includes Norway, New Zealand, Portugal, UK, and Australia. India is at 18th ranking, and the bottom 5 countries include Mexico, Kenya, Indonesia, Uganda, and Brazil. This can be important from the preliminary examination point of view. Added to it, we have something called as the Colombo Declaration. India signed the Colombo Declaration back in 2016, and this is a resolution to make the Indian Ocean region a drug-free zone. It was held at a meeting in Colombo, Sri Lanka, and the declaration came to be known as Colombo Declaration. So the Colombo Declaration is also about bringing an end to the drug abuse and making the area drug-free zone in the Indian Ocean region. The declaration emphasizes the need for cooperation amongst the coastal states more closely in order to share information in narcotic drug trafficking, provide mutual legal assistance, and enforce maritime law. It also calls for development and expansion of communication, and it would be carried out through Indian Ocean Prosecutors Network of United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. The declaration calls on the littoral states of the Indian Ocean to hold meetings on a yearly basis within the framework of Southern Route Partnership, Indian Ocean Forum on Maritime Crime, and these states need to access and share reports on the threat of drug trafficking in the IOR region, which would indeed help in developing a coordinated approach for countering such threat. So basically, all the countries that are present in the Indian Ocean region, they will coordinate amongst each other in case they get any information with respect to the drug abuse, in case they get any information that an organization is exporting drug to a particular country. The same information is shared with all these countries, and ultimately they are brought to an end. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this topic. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.